The universe communicates with you in their language. So I have to learn their language. They communicate with behaviors and elements of plants, animals. If you want to have the life that you want, then you get to feel. So all my teachings are based in feelings. We humans are frequencies, and the frequencies are created based in behaviors.
Hello, spiritual friends, and welcome to another episode of Life Ascended, where we discover our divine potential every day. And I have another wonderful episode that I'm happy to share with you. I have a beautiful guest coming on, and her name is Elena Radford. She is the founder and leader of the Inca Way, and she is committed to preserving the ancient knowledge of her people in Peru. And the Incas, the pre-Incas, the ones who birthed remarkable individuals and communities. The Inca Way is a new millennial way of sharing ancient teachings that originated from the Inca and the pre-Inca ancient ways of life, merging the ancient human energy knowledge with the 21st century delivery systems and technology. So this is the intellectual and the physical, to ignite people in passion and purpose. She also helps them to overcome past belief, traumas, and blocks that limit their personal growth. So thank you so much for coming on, Elena.
Thank you so much for having me in your show. It means a lot to me. So it's such a bright spirit and so much energy of manifestation that, yeah, you can make anything happen. So thank you for allowing me to be in your program.
Oh, thank you. Well, I want to start off by maybe having you share a little bit about your journey of how you actually became a shaman and how these ancient Inca teachings have become central in your life.
Right, that's a really good question. I became a shaman because it was a calling. It's one of the things that you get invited and you have the option to reject it or accept it. So I was I was born with my gifts, but it's like saying, you're a runner, you have the gift to be a runner and compete and not to do anything about it, or somebody can see down on you and say, I want you to work for me, and these are the things that you get to do for me. So it's a contract with the universe, with brothers and sisters. And that can be the mountains, the spirit of the mountains, the spirit of other shamans that are in a different reality. So I was invited to be part of that creation for the times of change. That was my understanding. And that was a long time ago, before COVID, before we had fires in California, before we had problems with climate. It was a long time when those things didn't really happen. And I remember I was in my room one day. At that time, I was living in Park City, and I had a vision, and I asked for them to show me one element that's coming in the future where I can understand why I was doing what I was doing, why my gifts were awakening, in the sense that I can see things now. I was more sensitive to my environment. I can feel what people can feel, and I was having dreams. And suddenly I had a vision, and there was a fire. They were like the land was burning, and then I went through the fire, and it was the beginning of something new. And so I think the universe, this is one of the things I have learned, the universe communicates with you in their language. So I have to learn their language. They communicate with behaviors and elements of plants, animals, for instance, because that's the reality. Nature is the reality. So to me, for them, fire was, yes. And, a year after that, the fire started in California, and little by little, and I started realizing this was part of the vision. I was train for these days and how we're going to go to turbulent times of change, climate change. But my teachings will help people to cross over into what to connect after we recycle from those type of behaviors. So my teachings are basically based into, if you want to have the life that you want, then you get to feel. So all my teachings are based in feelings. If that's
Beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah. So how would you say the Inca Way, just the description of the Inca Way, how does it differ than most spiritual practices?
I think the Inca Way is very unique because it's a consciousness that honors Mother Creation. It honors what is the best for Mother Earth, what behavior we get to have as humans to be able to complement to the growth and the emotions of Mother Earth, our environment. For instance, if you go to a party or ESV in this video, we make sure that we get to bring the beauty who we are. We dress up, we wear makeup sometimes. So we want to be in a good place because that's what we want to bring to who is listening that. But who is taking care of that when it comes to Mother Creator, Mother Earth? Who is in charge of making her feel like she's special? That taking her, bringing her in her beautiful dress or colorful flowers. There's not that much. We have become into the energy of just taking without giving. So the Inca Way is the consciousness that honors the planet as it is and its emotions. Like, for instance, nowadays, I'm not talking about 50 years ago, but we have social workers, we have stress, we have counselors, we have therapists. There's so much of that. And I think that's great, but who is doing that for Mother Creator? Who's taking care of her stress, emotions? How much just to produce some garlic? It takes 8 months for Mother Nature to give that plant the nurture, the soil for that plant to be, Mother Earth is, let's say, pregnant with so many things that are being produced for us, but who is really taking care of her? So the Inca Way is a small process of integrating that the best way how we can take care of Mother Creator is by learning how to feel. If you can feel and you can come from your heart, then we can co-create together. So that's the dream. That's the perspective, the long-term perspective of the Inca Way, taking care of our planet by being more connected to our heart.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I love that because a lot of people, they live in cities or, and there's so much technology, people spend all day on their computer and, it seems like sometimes we forget that we're even on a planet, you know what I mean? Like there's a whole big world out there.
Mm-hmm.
So for somebody like that, how would you start to work with somebody maybe who's really disconnected to the Mother Earth and how would you get them to start opening up to that?
Yeah, it's and I think that's part of the book, Circular Time, where there are frequencies, right? Because we humans are frequencies, and the frequencies are created based in behaviors. And so when a client comes to me for the first time, what I try to do and say, I'm going to be co-creating, working with you, teaching you how to feel again. Feelings are important. And so, and sometimes it's very clear that when we are in the head and we're trying to survive something, or we're the victims without knowing we're being the victims, which are those two behaviors that create a frequency from the mind, it has limitations. It has like black and white, two different colors, just black and white. That's the way the mind is powerful, but it can only create those two colors. But if you go to the heart, then you can create thousands and thousands of different colors, which are the feelings. So it's like teaching them to love themselves. That is the first process, something like, thank you for coming. It's our first visit, and just want to let you know that you're coming here because the intention is to help you to create with your heart. And so we're going to see into your behaviors that are creating the blocks and limiting beliefs, or it can clear your space from what you're at right now. And so it's very simple language, is that our behaviors create our realities, and we can change those realities. Yeah.
Here's a short message from our sponsor, Ascension17.com. We're in the time of the Great Awakening, and you're being called to ascend or risk getting left behind. Are you noticing ascension symptoms like emotional intensity, repeating number patterns, or a desire for more love and compassion? These are signs that your crystalline light body is ready to be activated. Get your free training to help you step into your higher consciousness. In it, you'll learn how your hands reflect your soul's purpose and how to use them as portals to access higher states of being. Don't wait. Visit ascension17.com/training to start raising your vibration, aligning to your highest potential, and embracing your divine perfection so you can co-create heaven on earth. And now, back to the episode. I want to tell everybody too that I had the opportunity to go to the sacred land of Peru with you. And it was such a beautiful spiritual journey, to communicate with the mountain, was something that we did every day. And it was so special to have those messages that actually came in from the mountain. And it just made me realize, wow, I need to talk to the mountain a little more often. And the same, now that I'm back in Sedona, I feel that as well. It's like, okay, yeah, I've got my beautiful red rocks here. And I actually spent some time gathering up some dirt in my backyard, the red dirt. and I meditated with it last night. And so this is what happened for me, is it opened up all my lower chakras, felt like they were getting cleansed and reharmonized and recalibrated. And it was, because it's so grounding, and I feel like maybe people need to have a practice where they can ground. So it sounds like that's something that you really, I would just, from my perspective, going to Peru definitely gives you that grounding and that whole different perspective. But it's such a beautiful practice. So when you start to work with people, do you help them to become aware of maybe how they might be limiting themselves, or, how does that open up for you?
It is quite interesting. Every client is completely different, and my work is custom made for the client. If I work with somebody who is managing a corporation, her language or her needs are different to somebody who maybe is a single mom. So everybody needs something different, right? But the beautiful thing about this is because I don't take credit for all the information that comes. Part of what is the process, most of the process is because it's channeled. So I'll have light beings coming because the light beings know that person better than I do. And they are going to be the ones who are doing the work. So, and sometimes I'll do the corn reading, because we cannot get I just get some corn, the ones that we use for popcorn, and then I can just read the seeds, and then I can generate, or the information will come to that. But most of the time, it's listening to my heart, connecting self-love. That's the channel of communication. And then I'll talk to the light being, and then he'll coach me in how to coach the client.
Hmm.
Is that answering your question?
Yeah, yeah. And you have a couple of different guides that talk to you. Can you tell us a little bit about those guides?
Yeah, and that is what's the book about, is about these two beautiful people from Atlantis, which is a civilization from 50,000 years ago. And it's the belief systems that makes them so special. And I think this is kind of what I'm already channeling. Their names are Che and Akara. Che is the male energy, and he's so funny. You're like, you have to be more excited about what you're talking about. So I think I'm more excited about the project that we have going on right now, in the sense that he's teaching me that a lot of the off energies that we carry are because of not having a good nutrition, because we overuse the land, and so we're producing things that are beautiful, but not necessarily that they have the nutrition that we need. And so our body is depleting. That's another reason why we get to take care of Mother Earth. So well, and that's because that's my project. Then he coaches me into my project. So if you were working with him, he will come and coach you into your project. So it's like a coaching system to different people according where they're at. Let me see, what is he saying? So let's say I'm a client of this light being, okay? So I'm going to go and ask him, show me, what do I need to do in this interview so I can be able to bring more the knowledge that you want me to bring. So I'm asking, because he's part of the universe, into what can be necessary to help you as well in what you're looking for, Cynthia, and how to embrace this into something that can be positive for a lot of people. And then he says, focus and centering in self-love. Teach people that the grounding that Cynthia got in Peru, which was so amazing, and there's no words to describe everything that you went through, it comes from the grounding of the heart. If we can learn to love ourselves, even though in the beginning we don't see what's happening around us in those energetic fields, it's creating a reality that is going to work for us. And you're not the first one, but I have been in contact with somebody in the group, and they're still downloading. It has been several days since we came back from Peru, and they're still downloading the information and reattaching the alignments with the frequencies of self-love that they connected in Peru. The key to change the world, the way how a contribution to the world, the way how you are a contribution to the world, the way how the mountains are a contribution of light beings, is that by learning to love ourselves, because that's the channel to heal what's damaging the world and bring the new reality. That's what I'm getting. That one of my two light beings.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I love that you're bringing up this concept of self-love, because it is such a plague on society. I would say, it's one of the most common life lessons that I've encountered also over the years that I've been working with people. And it just creates a lot of challenges, right? When you don't love yourself and you really feel like you don't deserve to have a beautiful life, you create ways to sabotage yourself. And, this is such an important part for people to really grasp, is this concept. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about how the ego plays in versus the higher self, and how can we tame the ego so that it's not like overtaking our lives. You know what I mean? And what would you say about that?
Okay, so let me ask, we have to value what's the meaning of self-love. It's the energy. It's like when nowadays you get to drink water every day because your body needs that, right? That's a fact. And scientifically has been proved. Your body knows when you need water. You may have headaches. It's in the same thing with the food. You have to eat every day to be able to be alive. So that's the essence. That's the water. In the same way, self-love is essence. Is an essence that the body needs. So the truth is that if we don't have that, ego in self cannot even survive. Ego is flexible in the sense that it can be very negative, or when you are in this beautiful experience of self-love or happiness, the ego can be aligned to that. It's part of us. It's how we get to use it. I have seen a lot of people using the ego to generate money in abundance. So you can give the ego an assignment to do something that can be very productive. Now, the reason why we go into this survival energy or the victim energy is because we're trying to fit something that's not real. So the ego will support that because we're telling ego support that. For instance, and so I try to analyze it as much as I can when it comes from the aspect of emotions. But I think what it really has worked for me is to see that if I have fear, depression, anxiety, all those different things are based in fear, and I have my ego working for it, and then I deplete myself, there are only two colors that are being used in the brain, black and white. But if I'm in the energy in my heart where the thousands of different colors are my feelings, I'm kind of take more like in a practical level. I'm sorry, there's a train passing by. So now it's more like, okay, realistically, I want to create with more colors instead of just black and white. And if my ego can support that, let it be, and I'll be in a world of abundance in every level. I think the part of the ego that sometimes we don't understand is the ego will support us in everything that we want to create. And if we want to create in pain and suffering, the ego will be there. But if we want to create happiness, connection with everything in the universe, the ego will be there, but it'll be playing a different role, which is a role of a creator instead of sabotage, helping you to sabotage yourself. I don't know if that's making sense.
Yes, that does make sense. So if we really want to live an ascended life, is kind of how I describe it, then we essentially need to recognize when the ego is out of alignment with the higher self.
Right. There has been mornings when I will wake up and I will say, I don't want to be here. I mean, we all have problems in our lives, situations where we feel so depleted. And so in those times that I have been in that space, I'll be aware of it. And I'll say, okay, no, I don't want my day to go into that direction. So I will observe that energy of feeling, I don't want to be here. Today is going to be a hard day. And energetically, I'll envision my self-love coming and overriding that energy. And it will go away. And then I can start my day coping with I need to cope that day to make things better. I did that exercise for a while when I felt that my energy was really down and confused. And then eventually my body got used to it. I would just wake up and without realizing it, the positive energy will come of self-love. And then I will just allow that to go. So, and then I learned it's like exercising 3 days a week or something like that. But I think one of the things that I realized that is when my older dog, she's 17 years old, and she got sick. She was bleeding, and dogs don't usually bleed, trying to figure out what's going on. It was really depleting me, her seeing sick. And there was a moment where I was just so tired of not knowing what to do. But eventually, when I recharged myself, I remember and this is one of the things I want to teach all of you that are listening to this. Think about in somebody that you love very much. Let's say you love a little dog, or your mom, or your dad. Now embrace that love and think in that moment, choose to love yourself in that way. That's the energy that I'm talking about. It's just the energy. So if you can embrace that and place it on top of what's not working, it will dilute it. Eventually, the other one will be gone. That's the power of the ego. It can change something to something positive, and the negative can be released. So that's why it makes sense why they say self-love is as essential as water, because we need to use that as an element to be able to generate love in our I'm sorry about that, love and the energies that we need to generate. So
yeah, for sure. That love really does open the door to so many things. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So I want to talk a little bit about the title of your book, Circular Time. That is such a fascinating title. And I was wondering if you could explain that concept to people. What are you referring to when you say circular time?
It's so interesting because for the mind to have so much power and self-destruction, we come from a space that is called linear time, which is past, present, and future. And in order to create pain and suffering, when pain and suffering gets created, it's because we get stuck in the past, in the memories of the past. So it can be if you lose somebody that you love very much, or it can maybe you're just remembering that you got fired from your job and it was not fair, or maybe you were thinking that all your friends are beautiful, but you're not. All these regrets, feelings of disadvantage or lack of completion are a sign that you're stuck in the past. In circular time, and in that energy, we start behaving as victims, and we start behaving as survivors, right? In linear time, and that's the story of linear time. The story of circular time is a time that goes in a circle, and it only happens between the present and the future. You are so present in who you are, and from that perspective, you're creating future. Now you're present because the past is not controlling you, manipulating, but the present of, oh my gosh, I have so much gratitude for where I'm at. I feel so good today. I am happy. I trust myself. I connect with myself. I'm aware that I'm going somewhere. Those positive ideas recreate a different time and space frequency, which is the beginning of that's part of the fifth dimension. And so in that co-creation of the past and the future, you're always bringing positive things from the future. You don't need to complete anything because it's already completed. That, in a way, is the essence of light creation. Always recreating and closing a cycle. Does that make sense?
Yes, for sure. So it's essentially we get past our past, and we're no longer victims of our past, and it's no longer controlling our present and our future. So you're healing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but part of what you do is you help people to heal their past and the grip that it has on them, so that they can co-create their future in a way that's much more positive and filled with light.
Yes. It's exactly like, for instance, right? And let's say you want to lose weight. Let's say I want to lose weight. But if I keep thinking about the mistakes that I made in the past and why I gained weight, I'm trapped in that. So losing weight will be harder. But you say, okay, today's the new day. Today, it doesn't matter what happened in the past. It's just going to make it happen as much as I can today. And then tomorrow we'll do better than today, or maybe not. But just focusing from the moment, your starting point being today, with the positive energies, the chances of losing weight are much better than if you're stuck in the story of the past. Because the solutions to the problems come through the feelings of the heart. So being in the present and feeling your reality, having gratitude, happiness, that you love yourself, you are already bringing a better possibility in the future that can complete you even better than what was trained for you to believe about yourself in the past. That's not true. Yes.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, I wanted to actually give a little story of how you helped me just on the trip, because essentially, I mean, the whole thing is really, I have to give a backstory to this because I wanted to go to Machu Picchu and I knew that it was somewhere that I needed to go. And I knew this from my last trip. I was on a cruise in the Central America. We went to Belize and Costa Rica, Honduras, Mexico, Panama. I mean, it was a beautiful trip. And at that point, I'm like, okay, I definitely want to go to South America because I hadn't been there before. And I was feeling called, to go to Machu Picchu. I definitely was picking up the message was coming in. And it was so funny because I looked up, some other trips and it was just like, no. Like it just wasn't right. And then I got your email. I'm not kidding you, within like a week of me putting out there that like, this is what I want to do. And then boom, your email dropped in and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the trip I want to take. It was so amazing. And I knew that there was something really significant about that. So I had channeled that I had some trauma from a past life that was tied in with the Mayan sacrifice energy. And I was told that I was somebody who helped to pick the people to be sacrificed. And, it carried a little bit of trauma with me. And so when we were in Peru, you helped me to heal that on the very first day, which was amazing because I was still kind of jet lagged a little bit. And I was, I'm like, I don't know, I'll just kind of go along with whatever we're doing. I wasn't really fully even aware of what I was doing yet. But it was so amazing how you picked up right away. Yeah, I had done some of that in a past life, and it was just part of the culture too. It wasn't like I wasn't like I wasn't a person actually doing the sacrificing or anything like that, but I was, it's always the intent and things like that. So you helped me to realize that I had also been one that was sacrificed after doing that process of choosing other people to be sacrificed. So the whole thing was really interesting. And that was something that I was curious about, was why they did these sacrifices. And we actually asked our other guide, Carlos, about that. And he basically said it was to, it was what they believed to be the contribution to have the harmony with the whole society. So, I mean, would you explain it that way? Like they wanted to make sure they didn't have flooding, or, if something wasn't going well, they would do a sacrifice.
Well, let's again, we're going to talk to one of the light beings because this is a question that is so important that whatever is the answer, we're going to guide people to go into the future and be in the present and not to be stuck in the past. And I think that's kind of why it's so important when it comes to past lives. If we're giving the information of past lives, is to help people to fulfill that and change that and move into the future instead of keep it as a trauma from the past, which is what the mind will usually create if the feelings are not strong in us. So I want you to think about Salt Lake City. It's I don't know, 250,000 people, 300,000 people. And it's a big city and it's a well-organized, beautiful city, right? So, and then we have a city in New York. And the way how people, let's say, combine their meals in New York can be a little different to the people how they combine the meals here in Salt Lake City, downtown. Say that we have so many cute restaurants here, but they're very unique in their own style. And so the Mayans were a group of different people that have their own belief systems and ideas according to where they were and they were thinking. But as a collective consciousness, they were afraid of dying. It was one of the biggest fears. I think right now, yeah, I think like a fear. I know this sounds kind of funny, but nowadays it's people having ice cream with too much sugar and gaining weight. That's a fear, right? You talk
For
to,
sure.
10 people, 6 people, the 10 people will tell you that's something that they're aware of it. And they like, they just think twice before they can have some ice cream that can create so much sugar and create a situation like that. It was kind of like that. They were so afraid of death because death to them, that was it. That was the end of it. It. If they died, there was nothing else. The Peruvian cultures and other cultures, we believe in an afterlife experiences because we come from a background where you go into ascension and you go into evolution based on what you learn to feel. That will be the beginning of your next life. Your feelings will be the tuning fork that can determine what is going to be your next experience, whatever shape and form you take. But the Mayans didn't believe in that. And I kind of want you to understand that because from the time of Atlantis, some of the Mayans ancestors were some of the Atlantis people that were in the destruction. It makes sense that for the ones who escaped to the Mayan world were the people, Atlantis people had low frequency energy. So to them, they knew that was the end of them. If they were too low in frequency, there was no chance for them to reincarnation. That was something that it makes happen, right? I mean, if there's no oil in your car and there's no fuel, possibilities, because it makes sense, is that the car is not going to function. It's the same thing. The frequency was so low that there was not going to happen in a lifetime. And that's why they did sacrifices. And I'm not saying that's the story in Africa. Every culture is different, but in the Mayan world, it was taking the blood of somebody else to maybe have the possibility of being reincarnated, or maybe. So it was no a pure intention.
Interesting.
It was so screwed up mentally as a culture. So yeah. Another way how it's presenting it is like, I think in the jails in Peru, let's say that, where people are so corrupted and they create their communities and they have their own belief system and that they're not functional. There's a reason why they commit the crimes that they do, right? So creating society under those belief systems, those principles, the nothing positive can come from that. So human sacrifice in the Mayan world was born from something like that.
So that just goes to show how the belief systems can be so skewed from how it actually is, that it creates all of these problems in a third density reality.
Right.
So part of circular time and part of connecting with these higher dimensional beings, at least in my opinion, is to help us to really connect with how the universe actually works. And to have that higher perspective and realize that we, as humans, we have these like funny, faulty beliefs that just aren't based in any kind of reality other than our delusions. And we don't need to be victims to that. And we need to recognize that we are divine beings of light.
Mhm.
So I think this is an important point in the work that you do, is helping people to release all of that stress and the past and just all of the crap that we carry. I mean, it's just not necessary to do that. So it's a beautiful path. The Inca Way is such a beautiful path to have balance and to really honor the path of being human too. I love the whole component of honoring the earth. And we would take our bottles of water with us, and we would give a little bit of water to the mountain every day. And I loved that because it was so honoring, and it just made you realize, wow, yeah, of course I need to give back to the earth. Like that's a natural thing to do, rather than just take. That's was something that was such a beautiful component of the whole trip. So I appreciate that.
I think, I still thinking about the trip. I wake up in the mornings or at nights and I think about the frequencies that are processing in my body because of the experiences in Peru. And I think one of the things that I noticed, it was a big difference, is that some of those sites that we went to, there was no judgment, there were no expectations. There was so much of being now in the present and bring the best of who you are. And with a, conquer in a positive way what is not working, because it's just not going to be valuable for you anymore. Once you become into the essence of your heart, the pure creation of, yeah, I can make things happen, but because of the inner force instead of conversation of the mind, it stick with me in a big way. And seeing all of you growing in the sense that, oh, I just knew, because that was the third time I was taking a group. I just knew that when you take people to Peru, to those sites, it will bring the best and the worst of you. And I just knew that everybody was going to go into that. And the first couple of days were going to be hard. And then after that, the body will just choose the high frequency. So that
Yeah, for sure.
it's like one of those trips that we have to be so careful and so thoughtful into everybody going through their personal cycle. That's what it makes it so special too.
Yeah. And I just want to tell people, that is one of the most special things about going to a location, like a sacred location. You can see it on video, you can, watch the documentaries or what, you know what I mean? Like you can do all that stuff, and that's great. But there is something really special about traveling to the sacred land and experiencing it for yourself. And I think this is one of the reasons why I love traveling so much, is that you just never know what's going to happen. Even if something happens that you judge to be bad, you know what I mean? Like your luggage gets lost, or whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. Or you're tired from jet lag, the whole point of the journey is the journey. And it's like, yeah, this isn't a destination. This is part of your sacred path while you're
Mhm.
here on earth.
Yeah.
And it's so honoring. And to me, it was so special to go to Peru, and we saw those amazing little dogs everywhere. And it was like, they were so friendly. And to me, it just reminded me of my dog back home, who I was missing terribly. But it was just like, oh, see, this is Peru actually saying, we know that you miss your dog, so we're going to bring you. And the very first spot that we stopped, a friendly dog came right over to us. And it was so precious. And I'm like, this is like an angel dog. Oh my gosh. I felt like it was a message from my dog,
Oh,
telling me that he's okay and he misses me, but he knows that I'm going to be back. And,
that's
it was so sweet. It was just so sweet. And those like are the moments, right? That we
yeah,
carry with us.
yeah,
And so it's like if anybody is wondering if you are feeling called to go to Peru, you must honor that call. Like you should not ignore it,
okay,
because there is something that the mountain wants to gift to you personally, and it wants you to experience the magic of the sacred land. And you're going to get so much more than you can possibly imagine. And I'm still processing stuff, and it's amazing how like it just will carry forward in your whole life. So, I mean, this is, to me, the spiritual journeys are the most precious journeys that you can take.
yes, yeah,
So, yeah, so thank you so much for offering these special moments for people and being such a beautiful guide and and helping people to really connect to their hearts, because the heart is the central part of our being. It really is. And everybody needs to connect to that. So, you're doing such amazing work. I just so value you.
you, Cynthia. Thank you so much for saying that, and thank you for having me in your show. This means a lot to me. So, yeah.
Yeah, so please tell me, how can people work with you? Do they have to come to Utah, or do you work with people over the phone, or how
I
does that work?
I work with people remotely because energy, you don't have to be in the physical level. With energy, you can tap into the energy because it's accessible to different realities, and then you can just, and then we can work in a way. Most of my clients are mainly on the phone or Zoom. I just have few here and there in physical, my location. But no, that's a good question. Yes, it works just great. Mhm.
Yes. And also tell us about your book. So, Circular Time, where can people find your book?
Yeah. Circle Time is a book that teaches you to love yourself, not because it's the outline, it says number one, you have to do this, number two, you have to do this. It's not outline, it's a different stories where you can tap into the stories of self-love because you're seeing the story from different perspective, different people that are sharing their stories. And so that is it, because they're transferring energy to you. You're downloading information to the book. The book can be, you can purchase it at Amazon.com. That is the main one. And you can visit my website too. And there's another options for ebooks, but Amazon.com is the main one. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. And that's super easy to find. So, and I'll put the link as well in the show notes. So,
Thank you.
yeah, so thank you so much. Is there anything else that you would like to share before we wrap up?
Let me ask. You want to create new realities with the perceiving yourself through the inner. I'm channeling Che, and he's saying that I just get to remind you, all of you, that if you feel and you create realities by perceiving through the eyes of your feelings, you will always create abundance. That's the last message.
I love that.
So,
Yay. Mm, I just want to soak that up for a second. Yeah, yeah, it's beautiful.
yeah.
Well, oh, thank you so much for coming on. And I greatly appreciate all of your wisdom. Everyone, please check out Elena's work. And I highly recommend a trip to Peru if you get the opportunity. It is life-changing and super valuable on so many levels. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Please let me know that you like this episode. Please follow us and share. And also, if you have an idea for an episode that you want me to do, please let me know that as well. I'm always listening and I'm here for you. So thank you so much and have a beautiful, beautiful day, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Life Ascended, where you can discover your divine potential every day. Please show your support by tuning in, following, sharing your comments, and inviting others to listen. Take it further by visiting ascension17.com for deeper spiritual growth, guidance, programs, and products.